What's the secret to long-term success in podcasting? Heck, in business and in life. One word: consistency. On today's episode, we're diving deep with a true legend in the podcasting world, JB Glossinger. Now, JB is the founder of Morning Coach and one of the most consistent voices in podcasting with nearly 6,000 daily episodes. Yes, daily. That's 20 years. Now, this isn't theory. It's decades of wisdom, hard-earned lessons, and proven systems. JB shares how he's stayed consistent and inspired through the highs and the lows, and even those days where he didn't feel like showing up. We'll talk about why consistency builds trust, how to keep your message fresh, and how to create content that truly connects. Whether you've done one interview or 1,000, if you want to stand out as the trusted voice and build a meaningful business with podcast interviews, this conversation is pure gold. Grab a notebook. JB's about to take you to school on how to consistency isn't just a strategy, it's a superpower. Today, we're talking about consistency in podcasting, and we got the guy that's like the most consistent. Almost 6,000 interviews now, daily interviews, doing it for 20 years. The man is a legend in the podcasting space. JB Glossinger from Morning Coach. JB, welcome.
How you doing, Tom? Good to see you. Good to see you.
You know, we're friends. We've met in real life. Heck, we've talked at Harvard together about podcasting. But can you walk back maybe 20 years ago? Why did you even start podcasting? Why did you start talking about what was on your heart and talking to your clients?
But I don't even know if you know the backstory, but I was running an aerospace company at the time. I was 35 years old, did real well, but I was miserable. I was just extremely unhappy, and I started studying metaphysics, and I knew there was something better than this. And I used to, beat myself up every day because I'm making, 5 times more than my parents have ever made. They're blue collar workers from Indiana. And I just kept saying, you got to be happy. You got to be happy. And I was miserable. And the pathway out of that, to me, I followed Tony Robbins and all the old school Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, all the wonderful teachers. I said, gosh, I'm going to write a book. So I wrote a book and started the speaking career, and it literally didn't work. Like, it was horrendous. Like, I just fell on my face. I'd quit my job. I quit, and I said, I'm going to do this. My wife thought I was nuts. And one night I ended up drinking. I don't drink anymore, but I was pretty hammered because I was so depressed. And my buddy says, well, why don't you do something like a recording or something? And so I started looking on the internet, and there was nothing there. But this is how far back it was. I started doing a conference call, freeconferencecall.com in the morning. I didn't know how to build web pages, so I went to Barnes and Nobles back in the day when they used to have them everywhere, and I got how to build a website in 24 hours. And I sat down and I built a really old school landing page. This is 2004, 2005, and I think it's one of the first ones. And it was like morningcoach.com. I found that URL. And I put, hey, if you want to listen every day, give me your email, and I'll send you an email link to this recording thing. So I would go on MySpace, and I'm dating myself. So MySpace, Tony Robbins, and I just put on there, hey, if you want motivation, come to morningcoach.com. And people started coming. And so then we hit the limit of 100 people listening every morning. And that's when I said, well, I'll record it on the phone and I'll figure out how to put it up. Well, I searched, and podcasting had just started. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. I had no idea what I was doing. No intro, no exit, just recording on my phone, old school, into the computer. In fact, there's a story I tell a lot of people. It's kind of funny, is in the background, you could hear a tink and then a stream and then a flush. And there was a guy going to the bathroom, and I used to get emails like, hey, who's going to the bathroom? You really shouldn't go to the bathroom. So it was a disaster. But as we put it out, I started understanding podcasting, and this was late 2005. And somebody at Apple liked what I was doing and featured me on iTunes. And we went from 0 to 40,000 listeners. And I was top 25 on iTunes for years in the early days. So 2006, 2007, Morning Coach was this huge podcast. So that's how I got started. I made no money. There were no people spending money back then. It was just brutal. But I had this, and that's what got me speaking at Blog World with Ferris and Gary Vaynerchuk and everything, because my podcast was one of the top podcasts in the world way back when, in the dinosaur ages of podcasts.
And I can remember it was probably, a dozen years ago now, is I listen to Morning Coach all the time. And then you said something about being from LaPorte, right? That's less than an hour away from here. And I can still remember reaching out to you is almost like a celebrity. I did like a little video with the donkeys behind me and stuff like that. And when you responded, it was just like talking with a celebrity because I'd been listening to you in the mornings and, it was something that seemed like it was perfect for me at that day, at that time and that day. So thank you for all you've done.
Well, I appreciate you. It's a comedy of errors the whole way. I mean, it's just the truth. I mean, I got real quick in 2009, 2005 to 2009, we didn't make any money, right? So I went and built a membership site. Again, I think one of the first ones on the internet. I'll never forget. I went and paid and I said, gosh, it's $20 a month. I charge $100 a month now for all our coaching, but then it was $20 and 1,300 people came with me, 1,321. I'll never forget that number. I was angry. I had so many listeners at 13,000. I said, oh my gosh, only 10% converted. Well, what we know now, 20 years, or not 20 years, but even what's that, 16, 17 years later, that's a huge conversion. And I was angry. I was like, I can't believe not everybody came, And it's funny. You can still go on the Morning Coach old school podcast and you can see all the complaints of me going paid, but we had to. There were no sponsors then. I mean, I was getting people, oh, I'll sponsor your podcast. Here's $100. I'm like, that doesn't even pay, anything. So it was a really weird time in podcasting back then, but I will tell you, it was kind of a cool thing because everybody had Apple iPods. So they had to actually, there was like a cost to entry to listen. So the people that were actually listening really cared because they had to take the time to go get a podcast and plug it in and get it. Where to now it's so saturated. I mean, it's everywhere. It's mainstream, right? It's bigger than radio podcasting. So when I started, it was definitely a different world. So the only benefit to that was you had people that had to go buy an iPod and actually respected the medium instead of it being a national medium. You know what I mean? Like this huge medium. So it was really interesting. And it was kind of cool to say you had a podcast back then because people didn't know what the hell it was.
And right now there's people that are asking ChatGPT what MySpace and an iPod is.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Well, it's called a podcast because it was in an iPod back then. And so it's really, a lot of people do video like Rogan. Obviously, everybody knows Joe Rogan. It's huge. And to me, that's like a YouTube video, not a podcast. Because it's like, I'm the get off, your lawn guy now, but it's like when we started, it was completely audio. There was no such thing as video back then. Heck, there was not even YouTube or anything around in those days.
One of the things I've always respected about you, JB, is that whatever you do, you want to be a pro at it. And so many people think, well, being a pro means you get paid. And I look at it differently. It could be your golf, right? You wanted to be the best golfer you could. You're running, right? I wish I could run as fast as you do now when I was in my 30s, right? You take it seriously. And one of the things that I remember, I think it was Rabbi Daniel Lapin taught me. He's like, there's a difference between a professional and an amateur, right? Amateur comes from the root word to love, right? So you just do it when you love it, right? You just go out and you do it when you love it, when you feel like doing it. But the professional, they're the ones that they're out there in the 30 and 40 degree weather playing golf. They're out there running in the rain and snow. And from a professional podcaster, you're showing up on days where you're probably not feeling it, right? So talk to me about how you kept that streak going of showing up on days with the energy, with the wisdom, with the insights when maybe you weren't feeling it.
Well, I was a C&D student and a general studies degree from Ball State, right? So I wasn't the smart kid. In fact, in third grade, I got held back, and all the little kids used to call me a retard, and they used to beat me up and stuff. And so I had to take third grade again. So I have never been the smartest person in the world, but I went back to my MBA, my PhD, and one of the things, and this is what I can do with my system is, I learned that you need a mission, vision, and you need values. And so that's what I developed, right? So that's what over 20 years in coaching so many people, it's like, okay, how do we do this? We have a mission. What are you going to do over 12 months? You have a vision. Who are you going to become? And your values are what's important. And that structure is so important. So for me, every year, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? So last year was like, let's put 800 new members in Morning Coach. We ended up with 400. I'm happy with that. Let's qualify for the Boston Marathon, run a 3:30 marathon. I did that. And my values are great. So I became this 3:30 marathoner. And the reason is what's so important about that is I'm able to take everything away that isn't serving that. And so many people are chasing too many rabbits and are not getting anything done. But think about it, over 20 years, if you just keep adding a skill here and there. So this year, 2026, we're building a house on the ocean in Palomino, Colombia. I love Colombia. I have a few places there. I'm going to be fluent in Spanish. Not only am I going to be fluent in Spanish, that's my vision, to be a fluent Spanish speaker. I want to do my podcast, and I'm writing my 5th book in English and Spanish at the same time. And I'm 56. Now, remember, I'm a C or D student, right? So it's not about intellect. It's more about focus. And I think that's the issue. So as we come up on 6,000 episodes, you have to show up. Just like in marathon training, I had to show up and do it. Now for Spanish, I got a teacher every day for an hour. I have to be online with my teacher from Venezuela or Colombia every day for an hour. I'm doing 2 hours a day. And so it takes that type of dedication. But as Zig taught us all those years ago, you don't pay the price, you enjoy the price. So I think people just lack the clarity. Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? What are you going to do? That's our mission and our verbiage. And who are you going to become? And like, I got a young guy that I'm working with right now in his 20s. And I can't even imagine when he's in his 40s. Imagine he'll have 20 new skills. He'll have 20 more things he's accomplished. And people just have that lack of structure. And it just blows my mind. We'll spend hours and hours and years and $1,000 on a wedding for one day, but we do nothing for our life. And we wonder why it's so hard to live life the way you want to live it. It's just a lack of clarity and structure.
Yeah, you're very intentional in everything you do,
Yes.
right? You understand why you're doing it as opposed to chasing the shiny object there. So one of the things I hear from podcast guests is like, well, I've been on, a dozen podcasts. What more do I have to say? And I'm like, you've done 6,000 interviews and brought value every morning, right? How do you always keep that message fresh for you and for the audience?
Well, for me, it's a coaching system, right? So every day we're working to really make sure people have what they need in the morning. And we have, morning ritual and routine. So over 20 years, we've developed a system. At the beginning, it wasn't that much. I'm very fortunate. When I started, people say, how did you keep going? I used to read Wayne Dyer a lot. I was a big Wayne Dyer fan. And I'm very fortunate that I was able to write for Hay House and share the stage with him and say, hey, you really got me through the beginning of Morning Coach, because I really didn't know what I was doing. I was just putting energy out there. And the truth is there's content in everyday life. That's what's beautiful. There's lessons in everyday life if you just open your eyes to it. And I'm very spiritual and I don't want to take anybody there, but I really believe that, I always say I'm the message, not the message, I'm the messenger. And so I do believe if you're inspired and you have energy, the message will come. Like, it will come. And so I do believe connecting to something deeper in your life is really critical. I know for me, especially the last couple of years, we're having so much success. It's the more spiritual I get, the more connected I get, the easier this really is. It's just easy. And I just say, listen, you just go out there and find content. I will tell you from a practical standpoint, I do keep a story list. So I'm constantly, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to put that in my story list. And it's thousands now, because every day is an opportunity to have a story. I was out running the other day training, and, I took the blind corner, and a young girl almost hit me honking the horn. And I got mad for a minute, flipped her off, said, hey, and then I just said, settle down. But that whole was a learning experience. What am I doing in that situation from an emotional intelligence standpoint? Why get angry? Why get frustrated? I'm in a 7-mile run. You know what I mean? So that's now a whole story. So there's plenty of lessons that you can learn every day at the grocery store, driving in your car. Every day it's all around us, and that's where you create content.
Yeah. And it's the stories of your life that are meaningful and apply to people.
Casey Neistat, I really like, he's done well, did this vlogging on YouTube that was amazing, but he said something that was really interesting to me. He said, what's interesting to you is interesting to other people. So if you take a massive interest, so right now it's Spanish. So I'm sharing all this stuff about Gabo and Gabriel Marquez and Palomino, Colombia. And it's interesting to me, the Andes and the Indians. We had 14,500 with snow up there, and I'm on the beach. I'm going to be living there and surfing in the morning. People are interested in that. It sounds weird. I'm talking about me and what I'm going through right now. But if you're interested in it, more than likely other people are going to be interested. They think, wow, that's kind of cool. You're doing something unusual. So interesting things, if you're interested in it, there's plenty of content that can come out of that.
How do you think that consistency impacts trust, right? Because one of the things I'm struck by is the people that are chasing the shiny object, right? They were the DEI experts, then they became crypto experts, and today they're AI experts, right? They can't spell it, but they're an expert in AI. You know, and I look back, if somebody, be it a person or AI now that indexes it, there is no doubt who JB Glossinger is, what he believes, what he stands for. So do you think that builds your trust over time?
Yeah, I think it's so critical. Like, I mean, again, I've done things in my life. I launched a mastermind for money. I'm not going to sit here and I haven't done things for money, but I've learned that that's the biggest issue. Like in our decision-making model, one of the things I say is, are you doing it for the money? Right? Because it's okay as long as you understand. But again, we talked about it earlier. Why are you doing it? So a lot of these people are chasing money, right? And I'm a big lifestyle guy. I'm like, get your lifestyle taken care of and then elevate it as you go. Like I'm talking about, building this place down in Palomino, Colombia. Well, now I got to build the business. That's 50 more people. Let's go find them. Let's love them. Let's take care of them. That will take care of that. So it's a different mindset. Like these people, a lot of people live in lack, where they just don't have enough. And it's just the constant churn, the constant grind. And that just stresses you out. I've been there. There's been times in my life when I had imposter syndrome. I went to Jeff Walker. I love Jeff Walker. I was in his mastermind. Nothing bad about Jeff. But I'm sitting in a room with 1,300 members in my membership site. And these people are doing millions and millions of dollars in masterminds. I came home with my assistant and said, you know what? I think I need to change my business model. And I literally started to change my business model. Morning Coach went from 1,300 to 500. I built $1 million business and I hated it. And it was all based on lack. It was because I'm sitting in a room going, I'm not good enough, when I was probably bigger than any of them in the room. But even I go through that, right? So you really got to slow down and say, why are you doing what you're doing? Because a lot of times when we do things in lack, we do it for the money and we change from AI to real estate to whatever, we're just compounding our negativity. We're just never going to get there because we just keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. And we're chasing the next thing. Slow down. And that's where I go back to mission, vision, values. What are you going to do? Who are you going to become? And what's important to you? Those fundamental things, it's not complicated, but it is, in a sense that you got to slow down enough to really think about what you want to do and why you're doing it. And if it's just for the money, I wake up. I mean, like my buddy that sells, he coaches people on bestsellers. He's like, if you need to hit the bestsellers list, you don't need to hit the bestsellers list. You actually need a psychologist, because you write great books and you don't worry about the bestseller list. If everything you're doing with this book is to be on the bestsellers list, you need therapy more than you need to worry about being a bestseller.
Do you think, from a business perspective, as I'm hearing you say that, do you think it's like thinking more strategically and less tactically, right? Not going after the next shiny object or what you see somebody else getting success with, but that strategy and where do I want to end up?
Yeah. Tom, it's very simple for me. And this is what I tell people. I was just in a mastermind with a bunch of coaches and they're asking me, oh, how do you do this? We're doing $8,000 and I got this $12,000. And I'm just going 500 people, $2,000 a year, $166 a month. Do it over the next 5 years. Provide services and value, $166 a month. $2,000 a year. You can't tell me, as good as you are, and these people are all beautiful, wonderful people, you can't find 500 people. Okay, you can't find 500? Go find 250, because 250 people at $2,000 a year, $166 a month is a $500,000 business. You're not going to be eating McDonald's if you're making $500,000. And if you understand these dynamics, you can build this. And there's so much software and stuff to do it now. You just have to stick with it long enough to build that. And hey, if you can't survive on $500,000 and you're like, oh, okay, I need $250,000. Okay, then get 125 people to spend $2,000 a year. I don't know any professional that couldn't do that in 2 to 5 years. If they stayed with a structured pattern and they, were clear about what they're going to do, they're going to build that business. And guess what? After 5 years, you got 125 people. Okay, now go after your $1 million. Now go 500. And you don't need a lot more than that. Heck, you get more than that, you start worrying about taxes. So it's just, to me, it's about lifestyle. Like, that's the whole key thing. And I think so many people miss the boat. They're shooting so high up here. Instead of just being consistent, showing up like we discussed, the first question was, and building the trust so people know you, like you, and trust you. And again, my goal this year is another 400. I want to work with 800 people for the next 10 years. I don't need more than that, And it's just a nice feeling that people know, hey, I'm committed and I care about you. And, hey, you're paying $100 a month. I'm going to be with you. I'm in your corner. and it's manageable. I can make an impact in people's lives, and I don't need everybody. I don't need to be spending thousands in ads. I don't need to be hustling. I don't need to be a monkey on YouTube. I can just be me. And that affords me an amazing life. And that's what I want other people to have. It's so blurred. And I mean, the Hormozis and all these people are awesome, but they're rare people that are doing unique things. The truth is, anybody can do what I'm doing. I'm a D student. There's nothing special here. It's just consistency and time.
You had talked about when you started 20 years ago, like there were no tools. You had to make it up as you go, right?
Yep.
And today we've got all of these tools. So what, if you look forward here, if JB Glossinger was starting out today,
yep,
what would you look at? I mean, how would it be different than when you used to record into a phone?
I think the biggest issue is the overproduction. Like, I think we need production, right? But people are looking for authenticity, right? There's a trust issue in the world today. Overproduced stuff, AI, even me, I got one of my members said, you've been using AI too much. I'm like, wait, I don't use AI. So I think being cautious with that, the over technological aspect of it and being a real human is what will lead you to that ability to get 500, 1,000 people that really know you, like you, and trust you. And so to start over, I would use the technology, but I would still be me. And that's the difference, right? I think, we were talking right before we came on that, authenticity is the word that's being thrown around all the time. I put all my stuff in ChatGPT and it said, oh, you're Bob Odenkirk. Like, you have this Bob Odenkirk style. And on YouTube, everybody tells me I'm Bob Odenkirk. I guess it's just because I'm just an everyman or whatever. But my point is, don't try to overcomplicate things. Use the technology to serve you. I'm writing my next book. So I've got Airtable structured, and I'm writing my book, and I'm using ChatGPT to organize it with the brain of Airtable. I'm not using ChatGPT to write it. That's the big difference. Now I'm using Whisperflow and dictation software. I mean, the technology is great, but I'm writing the book, and I want to make that point. I'm not letting ChatGPT write the book. I'm not letting ChatGPT do my coachcast. That's the difference. I think the laziness, and I hate to say that, but that's what it is. The laziness that comes with technology stops you from being the human, authentic individual that people know, like, and trust. And that comes through. You can't fake that. I don't care how good AI gets. You still have to be a person that connects with people. And that's why I love community also, and why we're investing heavily. I told you we just put thousands of dollars into some community stuff because I believe in community.
Well, and I think of your new artwork on the, for Morning Coach. I saw the picture, and it's you and Neo, your dog, right? And yeah. I don't know if you used AI to cut out the background and everything like that.
No, that's just a normal picture.
That's an authentic picture. It's truly you, the joy, and anybody that has listened to you knows about Neo. And it's like, it makes you more human with that.
Yeah. Well, and chaos was before that in 2009. That's why I went paid. I went down to Colombia. I mean, I cried on my podcast. There are people that are still with me that remember those days. I mean, I went through dental work on my podcast. I mean, everything that I've done has been real. Like, it isn't polished. Like, there's times it's been really ugly. I've had massive bits of depression when I had to change my business. And, I was in a mastermind and somebody stole a bunch of people, and I had some really crazy business stuff going on. And I had to just dump $1 million a year business. It's been crazy. And that's why people are with me for years, because they know I'm real. They know I've been with me. And I think the polish, you have to be careful with the polish. Too much of it is a bad thing. I mean, you got to be a professional. We talked about that earlier. So being a professional doesn't mean you can just be sloppy, right? Being authentic doesn't mean you can be sloppy. You still need to be a professional. But there's a level of authenticity that's really important. And so with the tools out there, I think you just got to create. Like, people complain to me, like, I've done 30 and nobody's listening. I remember when I was on like episode 30 and I had 2 people. I remember looking at the metrics, and I ran into Pilar and I was so happy. I was like, 2 people listen to me. It was amazing. Thank you, God. I can't believe 2 people listen to me. That's so different than 99% of the people I talk to when they know I didn't know podcasting. It's like, well, I only have 500 people listening. I'm like, are you insane? That's freaking awesome. Stop looking at the numbers and start loving your people. Like, it's crazy how people think about these metrics. And I get it. They look on TikTok and there's millions of views of somebody like, licking their toes or some goofy stuff. That stuff isn't monetized, right? It's not, that stuff isn't valuable. If you want to get famous, go get therapy, because I'm going to tell you, fame sucks too. So these are ego things that just aren't serving people to really develop a professional business. Be real, be you, be a professional.
I appreciate all you do, your wisdom that's come over the decades here in podcasting, right? There's not a whole lot of people that can talk about decades here. So if somebody wants to learn more about you, right? What's the next step? Where can they go?
Well, it's funny, Tom. I left social media. So I've kind of abandoned, I'm not on social. I'm just tired of all the noise. It just doesn't get me anywhere. So Morning Coach is the best place to go. And, I hang out there and, I'm not around really on social, like the team checks it and stuff, but I'm doing the opposite. I believe in doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing. It's just the way I live. I'm a rebel.
Well, and it's worked for you for 20 years. And it's like, as opposed to, chasing what the gurus say, you're doing what's actually working. I heard somebody the other day said, it may not be efficient. It may not be scalable, but darn, it's really effective.
That's all that matters, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the big thing. How is your life if you're waking up and you're alive? I mean, I wish everybody could come down to me in Colombia. My last time down there, we went and paid the electricity for 19 people, me and a group. Like, it was a group I was speaking at. And, we went 19 people, these homes with no floors, dirt floors, a woman with 2 babies without a leg. I mean, when you see that poverty, that people just have no ability to rise out of it. None, absolutely none. It just changes your life. Like, you wake up and you realize just how good we got it. And yet here we're complaining we have the ability to record and reach around the world and do all this stuff. It's like, just change your perspective. Wake up with a different mindset and wake up as a new day tomorrow. Really, that's what you do. And it's like, wow, you're so blessed. And if you just start using the tools you have, you're going to get there, and just stop getting your expectations up in the craziness, and just be real and have fun, and things will work.
Thank you, JB, for all you do and for sharing this with us today.
No problem, Tom. Always good to be here. And anytime you need me, I'm always around.
If you've ever doubted the power of consistency, JB Glossinger just erased that. With nearly 6,000 daily episodes, that's decades of impact, and a lifestyle-focused business built it on showing up day in and day out with clarity, purpose, and passion. So here's your actionable takeaway. Clarity creates consistency. JB isn't chasing shiny objects. He focuses on his mission, his vision, his values. Then he builds his business around serving his audience, not just selling to them. That's how you build trust. That's how you build a brand. That's how you make podcast interviews work for you, not just once, but for the long haul. So ask yourself, what's your mission this upcoming year? Who do you want to become? And what values are driving every interview, every story, every offer? If you want to go deeper, visit JB over at morningcoach.com. But don't look for him on social media, because he's too busy building the kind of business that matters. Now it's your turn. Show up consistently. Bring your best. And remember, what's ordinary to you is amazing to others.